There have been a ton of nerfs to many of the OP champs from previous patches, so the solo carries see a shake up for 13.4. In today's video, we'll be covering 3 champions for every single role that have the greatest ability to impact games for the current meta. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. Jax falling in power for 13.3 gives more priority back to Darius as one of the best solo queue carries. Nerfs to Doran's shield this patch should end up a net buff to Darius as well, since he's a champion that wants to be aggressive early in lane. Doran's nerfs will make Darius a little more vulnerable against ranged top laners, but in reality, other than Jace, there just aren't any ranged top laners being heavily picked in meta, so as long as you ban Jace out, you'll be just fine. Darius loves it when he has a ton of room to run the enemy down with ghosts, so don't be perma-shoving waves into the enemy's tower. You want to try to set up the wave near your tower, take a favorable trait to chunk the enemy, and then next time they waste a spell, look to punish and run them down with ghost. Lucky for you guys, we just uploaded a brand new course to our website a few weeks ago that will teach you everything you need to know about wave control. It's a Master of Minutes course, so very quick and condensed, to the point content that is very easy to digest and will instantly improve your wave control. The build to run on Darius is a Stride Breaker or Trinity Force Rush into Deadman's 2nd and Steric's 3rd. Now that Death Stance has been nerfed, it's not a staple on Darius like before. The rune page consists of Conqueror with Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, grab Second Wind, and Unflinching for secondaries. As if Gangplank wasn't already a monster top lane pick, the sustained nerfs to Doran's shield will elevate his power even further. The fact Gangplank's laning phase is becoming stronger as a champion that scales like a beast makes him one of the most lethal top lane picks. Ever since Essence Reaver and Quick Blades were buffed, Gangplank has been feasting on his opponents. GP players actually have a positive win rate in the Jax matchup, so the fact Jax is being nerfed in 13.3 will bode even better for Gangplank. Irelia is one of the better meta bans for Gangplank as her high mobility can be difficult to play around. Win condition for GP is to survive lane and hit that 2-item spike. Take high percent plays and don't 50-50 with a top lane champ that is more early game reliant like Olaf or Jace. Make sure to run First Strike as the keystone to stack up more gold and accelerate into your item spikes faster. Futures market should also be prioritized in easier matchups where you won't need the sustain from biscuits. Now that Treasure Hunter has been nerfed, it will give more power to resolve secondary. These past few patches have been absolutely amazing for Jace, and he makes his way into the top 3 for 13.4. Jace was directly buffed back in 13.1, and now with Doran's shield nerfed in 13.4, he's becoming even stronger. Recent changes to Eclipse, now providing ability haste, gives Jace even better snowball power as well. Since Jace is a ranged top laner, most melee champs that play into him are going to run Doran's shield, so Jace will be positively affected in the majority of his matchups. One matchup many Jace players are having issues with that is even being buffed for 13.4 is Malphite, so he's a good ban to consider. Win condition for Jace is to heavily contest the enemy when they go for last hits and play around side lane brush to drop minion aggro. You gotta be proactive early game to see the most success on Jace, as the majority of top laners will be more impactful the longer games drag out. Standard core build for Jace is an Eclipse Rush into Manamune 2nd and Serilda's Grudge 3rd. For runes, grab Phase Rush with Mana Flow, Absolute Focus, and Scorch. Free Boots and Biscuits are optimal secondaries. So many jungle champions are being smashed with nerfs for 13.4, which makes way for Echo to dive back into the top 3. Echo is a phenomenal jungler for solo queue, as he has many different ways to carry games. Gank power is solid, so you can impact the early game quite well, but if nothing gives, farming and scaling into your 2-item spike is just as good of a win condition. Few champions spike harder than Echo on 2 items, so it's a clear win condition you can be playing towards every single game. Something that really sets Echo apart from most junglers and gives him incredible comeback potential is his ludicrous damage to monsters. If you're not stealing Baron or Dragon when you have 3 items, then you're honestly just messing up, as Echo can deal well over 2k damage to Baron with his passive and smite combo. Sylas is one of the better bans for Echo, as Sylas with Echo Ultimate can be a nightmare to deal with. Core Echo build is the Rocket Belt Rush into Lichbane or Nashor's 2nd and Rabadon's 3rd. For runes, grab First Strike with Free Boots, Futures Market, and Cosmic Insight. Best secondaries are Eyeball Collection and Treasure Hunter. Catch-up experience is being reduced in 13.4, which will bode well for a strong ganking jungler like Gragas. Gragas has been one of the more sleeper junglers in previous patches, and with 5 of the meta junglers hit with nerfs this patch, he's going to be in a great spot. Ever since Night Harvester had its ability haste significantly increased, champs that can abuse the item have been in really good spots. Two of the most played junglers in previous patches, being Elise and Silas, are both Harvester users, and Gragas is amazing with the item too. You're not messing around with any hybrid Gragas here, as it's full out one-shot Gragas. Night Harvester into Shadow Flame second, and Zanya's or Rabadon's third is the core. Win condition for Gragas is to snowball bot lane. We are seeing way more melee supports played right now, which makes ganking bot even easier. Gragas doesn't have any terrible jungle matchups right now, but you can't go wrong with banning out Echo. Rune Page consists of Dark Harvest with Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter. Grab Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. Another jungler on the rise due to recent buffs and who will be loving the catch-up XP nerfs in 13.4 is Jarvan. Riot is actually nerfing Jarvan in 13.4, but it's just a partial revert of the 13.3 buffs, so he'll still remain much stronger than before. With catch-up experience nerfed, if you are the better jungler early game and can amass a nice advantage, it's going to be harder for the enemy jungler to come back. Jarvan, being a jungler who can easily obtain early game leads, is going to be rewarded more. Win condition for Jarvan is very much the same as Gragas, as you want to be prioritizing bot lane, especially with a melee support. Instead of banning a jungler, getting rid of a strong peel support like Lulu will often be more valuable for how Jarvan wants to play. Another big factor to Jarvan's surge in strength is how powerful Black Cleaver has become. Some high elo Jarvan players are even rushing the item, as it's a definitive core purchase for the champ. Rune Page is Conqueror with inspiration for secondaries, running Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight. Quite a surprise to see, but no follow-up nerfs to Annie in 13.4, so expect her to be the #1 mid laner. 13.3 buffs have propelled Annie from being a very fringe A-tier mid laner to the most broken champ in the game. A good win condition to play for on Annie is to utilize Fog of War and pick off squishy targets with your one-shot combo when they try to contest vision. Annie has the most foolproof burst combo in the game, so forcing the enemy into you and deleting them when they walk up too far will lead to great success. Being a shorter ranged mage, Annie struggles most against a longer ranged mage like Lux, so she's a good ban to consider. Optimal build for Annie is a Luden's or Liandry's Rush into Shadow Flame second and Rabadon's third. Pick up Electrocute as Keystone with Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter. Mana Flow and Absolute Focus are for secondaries. Nearly every single Rod of Ages user has been hit with nerfs in recent patches, but Cassio avoids the nerf bat and continues to be an amazing solo carry. Cass is actually one of the few mid laners that has a positive win rate against Annie right now. Majority of mid lane champs are pretty squishy, so it's easy for Annie to delete them, but Cass going Rod into Archangels gives her that added tankiness to absorb Annie's burst and then turn with stronger DPS power. Kaz is also demolishing meta mids like Silas and Ryze, winning over 55% of the time in those matchups. Kaz thrives in tight corridors where she can completely block off choke points with W and R. Arriving at objectives early and contesting those chokes is key to finding max success on Cassio. Champs that can play outside of Cassio's max range yet still deal damage to her are good to ban out, so Syndra or Anivia are solid options. Build for Cass is a Rod of Ages Rush into Archangel second and Rylai's third. Conqueror is the Keystone rune with Presence of Mind, Tenacity, and Last Stand. Roll with Mana Flow and Transcendence for secondaries. With both Kassadin and Anivia falling in power in recent patches, Uxin moves up in priority and is our third solo carry mid. Uxin does extremely well into the majority of meta mid laners, with Annie being the only highly picked champ he loses to. With that said, Annie is definitely who you should be looking to use your ban on when playing Uxin. Win condition for Uxin is to play for lane priority and impact the map with his strong roaming power. W stealth and E gap close gives Uxin some of the best surprise factor for any mid and allows him to catch enemies out of position super early. The build for Uxin is a Kraken Slayer Rush into Blade of the Rune King second and Wit's End third. In easy melee lanes, grab press the attack for the Keystone, but in ranged matchups where you'll need some added sustain, Fleet is a great option. Now that Samira has been nerfed, nobody will rival Xayah as she's the best ADC for 13.4. Rakan becoming one of the most OP supports has only made things even better for Xayah, as there really isn't a better duo lane at the moment. If you really want some free elo, then find a duo partner and spam Rakan Xayah before they get nerfed. Not only was Xayah recently buffed, but the fact that she can now build Quick Blades as a second item offers a much quicker mid-game spike. You have so much upfront burst power with Gale Force into Quick Blades, and especially when paired with an engaged support, you can easily pick off squishies out of position. If you haven't already, definitely try out Bloodthirster as a third purchase instead of Phantom Dancer when you are against heavy dive comps. PD is great when you need that attack speed to shred through tanks, but the lifesteal and shield from BT is so much more valuable when against assassins. Ban-wise for Xayah, she has a more difficult time into longer ranged ADCs, so Caitlyn is a good option. Optimal keystone is lethal tempo, and you'll want to grab inspiration for secondaries with free boots and biscuits. Samira nerf this patch really solidifies Jhin as that top tier marksman. Not only is Jhin in a great spot, but he's super fun to play due to how versatile his builds are. We've mentioned the rise in lethality Jhin in recent videos, and there's even Kraken Slayer Jhin being played a ton over in Korea now. Believe it or not, Kraken is actually winning slightly more than Gale Force as a rush item right now. The build is super unique for Jhin, as you go Kraken into Phantom Dancer second. What makes this build so strong is the synergy with Jin's passive granting movement speed from landing crits that scale off attack speed. Gale Force into IE is still completely viable as well though, and so is lethality, which gives you a plethora of options based on preference. Samira being a champ who can dive in and punish Jin's reload timer is a good ban. Correct W usage can really make or break your carry power as Jhin, so whenever possible, if you can wait for your teammates to land CC first and then follow up with W, it's going to drastically improve hit rate. Rune Page for Jhin consists of Fleet as the keystone, along with Sorcery for secondaries, running Celerity and Gathering Storm. Rounding out the top 3 for ADC is going to be Tristana. Triss is being slept on quite heavily right now, especially with how powerful Quick Blades is as a second purchase. By building Quick Blades' second item, you have near permanent uptime on Triss Q, which allows you to then build a Bloodthirster third for a heavy 80 stack build. Now that we are seeing strong engaged champs like Naut, Rakan, and Annie in meta, it makes Triss a phenomenal option, as her all-in power with engaged supports is massive. Look for that level 2 jump on the enemy and punish them if they don't back off. There are a few ADCs who can out DPS Triss at level 2 if she gets a fully charged E off. Xayah is definitely the best ban for Tristana, as her ultimate can do a great job at shutting down Tristana's ability to play aggressive. Halo Blades and Lethal Tempo are both viable keystones for Trist. When playing this heavier AD stack build, Lethal is going to scale better, but if you are paired with a support like Nautilus or Rakan who can posture very aggressively early on, Halo Blades will provide more kill threat in lane. Annie has turned into one of the most OP mid laners, but she's actually super strong in the support role too, arguably even better. Annie is one of the most easy to follow win conditions for any support, as she spikes insanely hard at level 6. The threat of a Tibbers all-in forces the enemy bot lane to play way more reserved, and if they stray out too far, it's so easy for you to capitalize. Just holding stun in lane forces the enemy to play scared as well. Due to Annie's long attack range, she does a really good job at contesting CS and making the enemy ADC pay for each farm they try to secure. Instead of banning out a support, look to ban Caitlyn when playing Annie, as her longer auto range is more difficult to punish in lane. There are 2 viable builds to run on Annie. Shirelia's into Rylai's is the most popular core that provides the most amount of utility. Rylai's into Mandate, on the other hand, is very strong too and offers more damage potential. Best rune is Aerie with Domination for secondaries, running Taste of Blood and Relentless Hunter. As if Rakan wasn't already OP enough, Riot is buffing Relic Shield while nerfing Spell Thieves, so these melee supports will be eating well in 13.4. Rakan has shot up in power drastically over the past patch due to his 13.3 buffs. As a champion with immaculate catch power, Rakan is such a powerful solo carry. Whenever R is up, posturing in Fog of War and looking to catch enemies as they move up too far is how you'll find the most success on Rakan. Annie is really the only meta support you gotta worry about banning, as her point-and-click stun can really shut down Rakan's engage power. The build for Rakan is a Shirelia's Rush into Redemption second and Wardstone third. Run Guardian for the keystone, followed by Font of Life, Bone Plating, and Unflinching. Zombie Ward and Ultimate Hunter are key for secondaries. Like Rakan, Blitz is another one of those melee supports who will become even stronger for 13.4 due to the item changes. Enchanters are already in pretty mediocre spots for solo queue right now, and Blitz performs very well into them, so he'll be looking to feast even more in 13.4. As with any hook support, you are much more of a threat when playing from Fog of War, so controlling side lane brush is key early in lane. At the very least, force the enemy into wasting their ward in the brush so that your jungler then has no wards to worry about in the river and can gank for free. Blitz does very well into squishy range supports, but struggles more into beefier melee champs, so banning Alistar or Rakan is good value. Build for Blitz is a Shirelius into Zeke second and Wardstone third. Prioritize Glacial for the keystone with Hex Flash, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight. Bone Plating and Unflinching are the way to go for secondaries. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent Challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So that wraps everything up for our newest edition of the Best Solo Carries. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll catch you back soon.